Hi guys, my name is Bri,
And my name is Catie.
and this is Mellow Movie Reviews, where we mellowly review movies.
I've been watching Vikings, which is on
Okay,
Hulu,
okay.
and we recently found out that my ancestry is a lot more Viking than we originally thought, which is pretty neato.
Isn't there a Viking named Ragnar?
Yeah, that's the main one.
So my roommate, in college, Bitsy, she was obsessed with Vikings. So for her birthday, I got her a Ragnar t-shirt.
Listen, he's hot.
It just says Ragnar on it.
Nice.
Like that's it. I think it might have like some symbol of the show on it or something, but it just says I'm like, it's his favorite character's Ragnar, so
I'm into it. You wear that shirt, Bitsy.
that's cool. Do you think I would like it?
Yeah. I don't know how into historical drama you are, but it's like if Game of Thrones made sense and wasn't as graphically sexual.
Okay, that's a good description. I might
Like
check it out.
it's based in reality and it's on the History Channel, so I feel like it's like at least pretty accurate, but also like there's a lot of like magical realism in it, which is kind of fun. And there's definitely moments where you're like, is something kind of spiritual happening right now? Yeah. Also, there's a lot of hot people on it, and there's a really badass female character. All the women are kind of badass on the show, actually.
Very cool. So I've been reading Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller.
Oh, what a good choice! I love that book.
I, Katie, I literally am sad to finish it.
I felt the same way.
I know what's gonna happen, but now I'm like, oh. So basically, yeah. So I've been reading that and getting really sucked back into just the story of Troy, and now I really, really, really want to watch Troy.
I don't think I've ever found Brad Pitt as attractive as I found him in Troy.
But my dad had the DVD, and I like took it from him because I was like, oh my gosh, like Brad Pitt, because I was familiar with Orlando Bloom because of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. I know we're doing what we do in the shadows next, but can we please do Troy?
No, Brianna, I made a list that's like 20 movie long of movies that I want us to watch and do for the show. And Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy was definitely one of them. Oh, also Troy. Sorry, that's what you were asking about. Troy is for sure on there, and Gladiator.
I'm like literally, can we please watch Troy, please,
Yes.
please?
So this week we watched Spirited Away. So this movie is directed by Hayao Miyazaki, and it was also written by him. So we both watched it dubbed. So I'm gonna read the English voice actors, but also the Japanese ones are amazing. The English voice actors are Davy Chase played Chihiro, Jason Marsden played Haku, Suzanne Pleshette played both Yubaba and Zaniba. David Ogden Stiers played Kamaji, and Susan Egan played Lynn. What did you think of this movie?
So I have never seen this movie before, and I really loved it. And I knew I loved it because at the end of the movie, at the end of watching it for the first time, I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. And then I went to bed, I fell asleep, I woke up, and I was just like, I love that movie. It left me in a different planet. I was in a different world. I felt like I escaped my own life for a little bit. And it really, took me out and in a good way.
Damn.
Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed myself. I am excited to watch it again. I'm excited to watch it again and notice new things about the movie.
I'm excited to introduce you to so many more Miyazaki movies. I feel like you're going to love this genre.
Yeah, I was really into the art and I was really into the story, and yeah. So, Katie, did you like
Yeah,
this movie?
I love this movie. I've seen this movie a bajillion times, but it's one of those movies for me that I can watch a bajillion times and it's still like fun and exciting and entertaining to see. And it's so pretty. Oh my god, it's just such a pretty movie to watch. I really get hung up on a movie's like visual aesthetics, and I feel like this movie really delivers on that.
So, I also thought this movie was creepy at times.
I think it's meant to be for sure.
And I can see two of my friends, I told them I was watching Spirited Away, and they were like, I couldn't watch that when I was little because I was too scared. But watching it as a 26-year-old, I was still a little bit scared, which I liked. I liked being creeped out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly moments in the film, like especially with No Face, where you're like, ooh, uh-oh.
Coraline creeped me out, but this creeped me out more.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. See, I have not watched Coraline since the first time I watched it because it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, now I can take that spider bitch out.
See, I can't take that spider bitch. I can't.
I see that bitch on screen, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm coming for you. So do we want to go through the beginning of the movie? Like, just through it a little bit, a quick. Wait, we should call. Ooh, can we call this segment the rundown?
Yes.
All right, so here's our rundown of the movie.
Okay. So we open in a car with Chihiro and her parents, and they're moving. And Chihiro has a really pretty bouquet of flowers from her friend at school. So Chihiro's father, who is played by Michael Chiklis, which I think is amazing, pulls off the road because he notices some like weird, creepy thing. And, you know, as all fathers do, decides to take his family into the weird, creepy thing. So they go inside this park, and her parents think it's like an abandoned amusement park. And they start to walk around, and then there's like food, which, by the way, Miyazaki food just looks like the ideal of food. I would go to town on that buffet. Like, as stupid as her parents were for like eating all that food, I would have done the same.
So
Um,
right off the bat, I didn't like the parents one bit.
I
Do
don't
you
think you're meant to like them. I mean, they're in the movie for like maybe 3 minutes total.
But I thought that was like an interesting way to introduce the parents, because usually parents to animated movies are like happy go lucky, or
Yeah.
just like outwardly like the worst. And then they were just so mediocre and just kind of weirdly off to me. And I just thought it was like an interesting choice for the director to do that.
They seemed very typical of anime parents for me, and this is technically anime, even though it doesn't have that like traditional style, which is kind of what I like about it because it's more cartoony and interesting to look at. But yeah, so her parents eat a ton of this delicious looking food, and Chihiro's like, hey, maybe that's a bad idea. And so she starts to explore, and she notices that there's these like ghost looking creatures all over, and that water has filled in between where they are and where they came in. And then she goes back to her parents, and uh-oh, they turned into pigs. Really accurate looking pigs too.
Yes, he did not beat around the bush.
No, it wasn't like, oh no, it's Peppa Pig. It was like, oh no, that's the hog that kills you. So Chihiro can't go home and her parents are pigs. Oh no. So she like starts to freak out and turn invisible, and then very conveniently, a little boy named, well, he's not a little boy, they're like the same age, Haku, comes and gives her this like mysterious ball, and she eats it, and then she's fine. So then he has to take her to a bathhouse, which is like the normal kind, to like get a job, and she has to cross this bridge with out breathing. She has to like hold her breath. And so they get pretty much the whole way across and she's doing great. But then like this frog sort of stops and starts talking to Haku. And like he can't get the frog to go away. So Chihiro like breathes and then he has to like freeze the frog in a little bubble and hide Chihiro, and he tells her to go down and find the boiler man and ask for a job and to not take no for an answer. Let's talk about those stairs, man.
Before we talk about those stairs, man, can I just talk about how it was convenient that Haku showed up to save Chihiro, but at the same time, I was so relieved.
That is true. You do feel like, I feel very attached to Chihiro from the beginning, and I have no idea how in the first, I don't know, 10 minutes of this film he's able to get me so attached to this child.
Well, she seems just very personable. Like, she just seems very likable. I'm like, why aren't her parents, like, paying more attention to her? Like, I wanted to, like, nurture her and be there for her, you know? That's what I felt.
As an only child, and you are also one of those, so you can chime in, but I feel like that's not super accurate to how parents with only children are. I feel like parents with only children are, like, all over their kids.
Yeah, that's true. It is sometimes. I think more when you're younger too.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be like 10. When I
Yeah,
was 10, my mom was like everywhere with me. I like wasn't allowed to do anything.
yeah, that's very strange. I think maybe that's why we're confused that they're not, you know, because even in what's that film? Inside Out. I feel like her and Riley are the same age, Chihiro and Riley, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like her parent, well, it was a film about, you know, your emotions. I guess like her parents were more nurturing than them, but it was just like off to me. And that made me care for her more, that I was glad she was safe. I'm glad that Haku was like the first person to actually help her out and like make her feel okay.
I mean, like, you're right. It is a very like maternal feeling you have over Chihiro. Wow, that must be like truly what it feels like to be grown when you maternally want to take care of a character in a movie instead of like be them.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There we go.
There we go. So those stairs, man.
Yeah, so after the bathhouse, right?
Yeah.
She goes down the stairs. Stairs were scary. Stairs are scary in general in any context. So
Yeah.
the fact that like those were, I don't know, just how the scale of it. He made the scale really big.
So for those of you who haven't seen the movie, it's like up the side of this giant building, and this giant building is already elevated above like a big valley, and it's just wooden stairs going down, and there's not like a railing or anything. And so she's like doing fine for a little bit, and then she steps on a stair and it breaks, and she just like sprints screaming down the stairs and runs straight into a wall. And I honestly think that's meant to be like comedic, but I'm just like, I would have done the same.
My friend Bitsy, she said that scene was the scariest for her growing up.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know what scene would be the scariest for me, though, which I kind of am bummed about, but.
There's a couple that are in contention, I feel like.
For you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say those at the end.
Okay. All right. So eventually she gets down to the boiler room and she meets Kamaji, the boiler man, who is like the human version of a spider, which is kind of funky. I have a problem with spiders, so I didn't care for it. But I guess design wise, I get it.
I loved his character design, and I immediately felt safe, and I felt like I could trust him, even though he was a spider. I think I trusted him because of his, like, knowing beard and his glasses.
The glasses do help.
What is his name?
Kamaji.
So Kamaji says, so who walks in? That woman.
So Chihiro goes in And she asks for a job, and Kamaji says no. And he has these like flecks of dust that he's magically enchanted to carry coal to the furnace. And Chihiro tries to do one, but then it ends up like fucking up the whole process. So Lin comes in with food, and then Kamaji says that she has to give Chihiro a job because Chihiro is his granddaughter. Now, I thought that was just a way for him to get her into the bathhouse, but you had an interestinger idea, more interesting.
So I thought that this was possibly the spirit of her actual grandfather, and I don't think she questions it.
That's true, she doesn't.
And so to me, that indicated that she might be kind of familiar with this place, or that maybe there's like a glamour on him that she couldn't like hear him say. I don't know, but I thought that maybe was the spirit of her actual grandfather, and that was his spirit form in that spirit world.
I dig it.
And she never questions it. I thought they would bring it back. They don't. It's mentioned once, so a million ideas were churning through my head.
Yeah. And that's my only argument against it, is that they never return to it to be like, oh yeah, grandpa. But I like your theory so much, I'm just going to say it's canon.
Because I liked him better than the parents.
Yeah. So Lin takes Chihiro up into the bathhouse, and she has to go find Yubaba, who is the witch who owns the bathhouse, and sign a contract with her. So she does this, and in order to work at the bathhouse, she has to give up her name. So she signs a contract, and Yubaba gives her a new name. She calls her Sen, and it's very quickly revealed to us in like a scene later that that's how Yubaba controls people, is when she takes your name. It's how you forget about like where you're from and who you are, so you're just like trapped in the bathhouse.
Can we talk about Yubaba for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, Yubaba is this witch, and she's freaking cool.
Yubaba's a boss.
I also love the design of her character. I love that her head is massive and her body is just like a square.
She's just everything.
And I love her like little blue dress, and I love that she can turn into a bird at will. And
I love that she's like 1,000 years old and just decided to have a giant baby.
That's a plot point that we're
not going to discuss it any further. It's irrelevant.
Well, but that's something we both kind of disliked in the movie.
Yeah.
That little plot point of Yubaba having a giant baby, because it didn't really move the story forward at all.
It was just there as a plot device at the end for Haku to reveal that they stole the baby.
Yeah, and that didn't really matter too much.
Yeah. So I just I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and apparently all the names have meanings in Japanese. So for instance, Yubaba means bathhouse granny. And Zaniba means money granny. Kamaji means boiler granddad. This one's my favorite. Haku means flourishing, swift flowing amber river god. Or rather, Kohaku.
I mean, hey.
This is so fun. No face is Kaonashi in Japanese, which literally means faceless. And apparently Sen means 1,000, but I don't know how that relates to Chihiro's character.
Maybe there's been 1,000, she's had 1,000 lives.
Maybe. So Chihiro, there's that really beautiful scene of Chihiro like trying to scoot through the pink flowers, and it's just gorgeous. I have to ask Chaley, but I do think that part was computer animated. There were a couple places in this movie where I thought I saw computer animation, but I'm not 100% sure.
Chaley is also one of our friends.
She has a degree in animation, which is why she's an authority. So then the next day, she has to go to work. And they assign Lin and Chihiro to clean the like grossest, oldest, biggest bathtub they have. And in the process of doing this, a stink spirit crosses the bridge towards the bathhouse and all the employees try to stop it, but it comes in anyway, and so they stick it in Chihiro's bathtub. And so now she's got to deal with this.
When the stink, what is it called?
I think it's just a stink spirit.
So when the stink spirit first jumps into the bathwater, that is my favorite shot of the film.
Really?
Yeah, of like just the water coming up because of his volume. I loved it.
The water is very beautifully animated in this film, like not even just in that scene, like when they're in the train station and like when they're in that little boat with Lynn too.
Yeah, I was just like, that's so breathtaking. I want to paint that.
No, I will never be over how beautiful the animation is in this movie. It's stunning. So yeah, so the stink spirit is in her little bathtub. She has to like get special water to like help clean him. And so she slips and falls in. And while the spirit is helping her out, she notices there's like a little thing stuck in his side, and she grabs it, and it's a bicycle. Because this thing is massive. So she starts pulling, and like more stuff comes out, and Yubaba comes down, and she realizes like, oh man, that's not a stink spirit. That's a river god, because he starts leaving gold like all over the floor as more stuff comes out. So they eventually pull all the shit out of the river god, and there's this like really creepy mummified skeletal face that comes out and just does one of these. And then a old man faced blue dragon comes out, and it's the river spirit, and he's like grateful to them, so he like leaves them a bunch of gold and then flies away back to his river.
And Catie, what is that a metaphor for?
I interpret that as a metaphor for pollution, because they were pulling all that shit out of a river spirit, because like people, it was all garbage that they were pulling out of him. Like it was shit you would see people throw in a river. It was like fishing poles and like cans and stuff.
It was beautifully done and sad in a way.
But it's happy too though, because they cleaned him up and sent him on his way.
Yeah, that was a sweet moment. I loved his reveal.
Also, I think we talked about last time how this should have been a hint to us that Haku was a river god, because this is the only other dragon we see in the movie, and it's also a river god spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I should have made that connection before now, because I've seen this movie a lot, but at some point earlier in the film, Chihiro left a door open for No Face, because she thought he was just like a regular guest at the bathhouse. She didn't know that he was a No Face.
No Face looks like a ghost.
But yeah, definitely a ghost, because he is kind of see-through.
Yes, and he's scary, creepy. He sounds weird.
Yeah, he doesn't really talk at first. He just kind of goes like, ah.
Oh yeah.
So later in the evening, the frog from earlier in the movie goes down to the bath to see if he can find more gold, and he runs into No Face, who reaches out his hand and just like conjures a bunch of gold, and the frog takes it, and then he eats the frog, which gives him the ability to speak, but also he ate a living thing that had sentience. So in the middle of the night, everyone wakes up and they think this guy is like super rich and he's gonna give them tons of money, so they start like giving him whatever he wants. And things get out of hand pretty quickly because he starts to eat people.
Just whole, too.
Yeah, just whole, just shoving it. Well, they don't die because they come back at the end. So he literally is just swallowing them.
It's like, No Face, what's your plan?
And like, they're still alive. They're just inside of him, which is like, what a metaphor for loneliness, that no matter what you eat, it just exists inside of you and you get nothing from it.
Yeah.
So while this is all going on, Haku has been sent on a mission to steal a golden seal, which I did look it up, and it is a wax seal for sealing letters. Or I think in Japan, they just like have them as like a signature type situation, but I'm not 100% sure. So Haku has been told to steal this from Yubaba's twin sister Zeniba, and so he accomplishes this. But then on the way back, he's attacked by like a bajillion paper plane men.
This part made me sad because he was really injured by those.
This is one of the parts that I was going to say was one of the ones that scared me because the first time I saw this movie, and even sometimes, I am not 100% convinced that he's going to make it. He gets very injured and they take him down to the boiler room to help like heal him. And the river spirit gave Chihiro a special little ball of goop, and she was told it was medicine, so she gives it to Haku, and it appears to make him a little bit better. So she goes back up to the bathhouse and tells No Face to come with her, and they go see, or she gives him something that makes him throw up. Wait, does she give him the river spirits thing?
I believe so.
I can't remember. One of them gets the river spirits thing, and one of them is given a different thing, but whatever's given to No Face makes him vomit up all of the people and stuff that he's eaten, and the people are fine. They're alive. So he was growing much, much larger, like exponentially larger the more he ate, and so once he's done all this, he just shrinks back down to how he was at the beginning. So Chihiro takes him and a mouse and a like mosquito who were once a giant baby, and I can't even remember what the other thing used to be.
Yeah.
And they go to Zeniba's house via this train, which has, as you said last time, the most famous scene from this movie, where they're all sitting on the train bench, and it's just they're there, and it's the distance going by.
Yeah, that's the first image I ever saw for this movie.
I don't know why. I don't know why that scene's so famous. I mean, it's stunning. It's beautiful.
And I remember seeing a tweet, and the tweet was like, if y'all don't know, you should know.
My God.
I was like, what do I not know?
Well, now you know what you didn't know.
Yeah, now I know. I love that Yubaba, like, this was like a petty argument between sisters.
I remember what happened. So Chihiro does like the Heimlich on Haku, or like reaches down his throat or something and pulls the seal out of him. And then this little wormy thing comes out, and she steps on it and kills it. And then she gives the river spirit thing to No Face. So they get to Zeniba's house, and she's like the chill AF version of Yubaba. She like makes them tea and they chill out. And she like tells Chihiro that the thing that came out of Haku, the little worm thing, was actually Yubaba's curse over him. So by killing that, she's like freed Haku from the curse that Yubaba had on him. And she like says she's going to help out No Face. So it's like starting to wrap up all the little plot lines. And then Haku shows up and flies her back to the bathhouse.
So No Face and Yubaba's twin sister. No Face stays with Yubaba's twin sister.
She's like, he's just lonely. Come hang out with me.
I like how that story ends quick. I love that there was no more problems with No Face. I love that he had like a little fame, and then it was just like done.
I think other than the plot line with the baby, which I think is stupid, I felt like all the plot lines in this movie were the correct length. They were opened and wrapped up in a succinct and satisfactory way. Like, I didn't feel like there were any plot lines that were like dragging, and I didn't feel like there were any that were neglected. It felt correct for the pace of the movie.
Right, I agree.
Yep, so Chihiro's flying on Haku, who is a dragon at this point. She tells him that she figured out his name is Kohaku because he is the spirit of the Kohaku River. And then they land back at the bathhouse, and Haku has worked out this.
No, she realizes that in the human world, the river spirit, saved her from drowning.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Because they had this thing where they were like, I know you, but I don't know you.
Yes. It was a very beautiful realization, and it was really cute, and like, I don't know, it made me cry. That's the part I cried.
No, it was so cute. And I think the thing I love about their plotline the most is that there's no romantic situation.
Yeah.
Like, they're just buddies. They're adorable. They're just trying to help each other out.
Yeah, I love their friendship. It was very, very sweet.
Yeah. And I think that's like a thing. Like, even in the Miyazaki movies I've seen that are like romantic, it's a very sweet romance.
Yes.
They get back, they land, and Haku worked out a deal so that Chihiro can go home. And so they get back, and Haku's like, all right, she's gonna leave now. But Yubaba's like, just kidding. There's one more catch. So there's like a bunch of pigs, and Chihiro has to figure out which pigs are her parents. And she correctly guesses that none of the pigs are her parents. So her and her parents get to go home. And it's told to her that she can't look back until she's made it all the way back through the tunnel that she came out of, which is very, very Greek mythology of them. So she reunites with her parents. They get back outside. They get to their car, and it's like covered in vines and like dust and dirt, and like it's very clear that their car has been there for a significant amount of time.
That part freaked me out so much. I think that's one of the scariest parts for me.
That's fair.
Because at the end, you kind of expect, Mom, Dad, I'm so glad I found you. And they're like, what are you talking about, sweetheart? And then they get in the car and it's like, diddly-doo.
You know how at the end of some horror movies, it'll be like, the end, or is it? This was the like, or is it of this movie.
So the end was very scary. How many years do you think that was? How many days do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's at least a couple of months or like a year. Because I feel like there was enough on their car that it wasn't like, oh, we've been gone a couple days. Like, it was like, we've been gone a couple of months.
Yeah, that was... Oh, that's so creepy.
I also love how her parents' first reaction to it is, who pranked us? Like, what kind of prank is that? Also, who goes through that much effort? Like, he's literally pulling vines that have grown into the ground off of his car, going, who put this here?
It's like, sis, like, it's not a prank.
The whole time, her parents are talking about meeting these movers at their new house. And I imagine that they get in their car and they go to meet the movers, and there's like a new family who's moved into their house because they've been gone so long.
And all their possessions are just lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That was the end of the movie. More secrets, more questions. It made me think more and made me want to know more. And I want all the answers, but at the same time, I don't.
This movie's a thinker.
Yeah. I really liked it. Thank you so much for introducing it to me.
You are welcome. Of course.
It was beautiful. I really needed it, especially during this time. I'm finding it hard to concentrate on things. And this movie really took me away for a couple hours, and I really was thankful for that.
Miyazaki, I feel like, is good at escapism. His movies are all very, like, whimsical, except for Princess Mononoke. That movie is dark. But his movies are pretty whimsical, and they're all beautiful. So, like, even if the movie's not amazing, you're looking at a beautiful piece of artwork for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm. 2 hours.
Okay, fair enough. Most of them are 90 minutes, but...
The only complaint besides the baby, which Catie made me realize, I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't quite that into that part either, was the length. I thought it was a little bit too long, and I feel like if the baby scenes were cut out, it would be the perfect movie.
Yep.
But yeah, besides that, definitely check it out. It's fun. If you liked Coraline, you'll like this.
Yeah.
Also, don't ever, for any reason, get Coraline, the audiobook.
Why?
Whoever narrates it does like really, really intricate voices of each like character. And one time I was sleeping and the mice were talking. I read on Reddit that that's a good book to listen to fall asleep.
Who the fuck sat there and wrote down that Coraline is a good book to fall asleep to?
I don't fucking know. It was good at the beginning, and then I'm like, what? Why do I hear little whispers? They're like, hey, Coraline. And I was like, no. Oh, no.
I wouldn't have to read it myself. I don't think I could audiobook Coraline.
Yeah,
I need to control the level of fear I'm putting into the voices.
That audiobook is terrifying. And I listened to this I like last year. I was trying to fall asleep and I put it on. All right. Well, Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.